Good morning, everyone. We're in the middle of the Geras HaKodesh Siman Dalet on page Kuf Vav, which is opposite of page 210. Opposite of page 210. Morning. Okay, so this has been a journey, this letter, because I've been on and off for the last while. Sorry about that, but hopefully after Yom Tov we get back into routine. I was, JLI had this year, they decided to do regional conferences all over the United States. So I was pressured in a lot of different places. But Baruch Hashem, I think that's over with. So we should be pretty regular, start going from here on. So this letter, like most of the other letters in the Geras HaKodesh, is about tzedakah. Just to recap where we're holding, the letter talks about Ein Yisrael Negolan Ela B'Tzedakah, Shenemar V'Shaveha B'Tzedakah. Chazal tell us that the Geula comes through tzedakah, as the pasuk says, in Yeshaya V'Shaveha B'Tzedakah, that Tzion b'mishpat, that Tzion will be redeemed through mishpat v'shaveha, and those who were taken captive, the captives of Tzion, of Zion, will be returned b'tzedakah, through tzedakah. And the question that the Rabbi asks is, what is the connection between tzedakah and redemption? Why is it specifically through tzedakah that we are redeemed? Then the Rabbi asks another question, another pasuk. We'll leave that alone for right now. And the Rabbi goes into the idea of bris milah and talks about that in a bris there are two parts to a bris. There's what's called the milah and there's the priya. The milah is the removal of the thick foreskin, and then there's the priya, which is the thin membrane which is beneath it. Both of them have to be removed for a bris to be complete. And the pasuk tells us that there's also what's called the milah, the circumcision of the heart. The word arla, which is translated as the foreskin, but the word arla literally doesn't mean a foreskin. Arla means anything which stops something up, anything which is a blockage. It's called an arla. So we have to remove the arla, the blockage of the heart. Just like there's the physical milah for men, for all people there has to be the removal of the arla of the heart. And what does that mean? Is that there is a very, very deep level of love for Hashem, which is at the core, at the center of the heart of every single Yid. It's a love which is so powerful, which is so strong. It's not a love which we create, it's a love which is natural. It's a love which is as strong as the neshama is, that's how strong the love is. The problem is that this love, for most of us, is hidden. Why? Because it's covered by this arla, it's covered by this blockage. So therefore, even the love for Hashem that we do experience sometimes, that love is not, we're not tapping into this deepest level of, this deepest love that we have, but rather it's, I don't want to use the word superficial, an imposed love. I know that doesn't make it, that doesn't make so much sense, but it's a love which we create. It's a, we think about Hashem enough, we come to appreciate Hashem, but it's not an essential love. It's something which is created through our cognition, through our mind. And we want to reveal this deepest level of love for Hashem. In order for that to happen, we have to remove the arla, we have to remove this, the blockage of the heart. Why is our heart blocked? Our heart is blocked because instead of us having this deep essential emotional attachment to Hashem, we are instead very deeply and essentially attached to worldly matters. So we need to remove the arla, which means detaching ourselves from our deep essential connections to physical matters, and then we can experience this level of love to Hashem. And this level of love to Hashem is called Geula. That's redemption, yes.
Isn't there a mitzvah of Arla?
Yeah.
What does that mean? All different?
No, it's the exact same thing. The pasuk says that if you look there in Rashi, "Va'araltem arlasa yespirye," that means that you should block those fruit. That's the same idea of blockage. Don't use it. Put a blockage in front of those fruit that you shouldn't eat them. The first 3 years, yes, yeah. First 3 years, the fruit we're supposed to block them off from us. Yes, are also sign someone who's heavy, can't speak well because there's a blockage over there. Yes, all arla comes from the same root. So we're used to it in the context of bris milah, but arla means a blockage, which is why the pasuk says umaltam es arlas levavchem, that we have to remove the blockage from our heart. So when the blockage of our heart is removed, that's geula, that's redemption. When we, yeah. We're getting there. When we remove this this connection, we remove this the blockage which is formed and created by our attachments to the material matters, and we experience this level of attachment to Hashem. That's geula, that's redemption. I mean, if you could try to imagine that, having this, walking around and having this feeling, this emotional attachment to Hashem, that is really what geula is all about. Now, as we mentioned earlier, bris milah is made up of 2 parts. So there's the thick skin and there's the thin skin. The thick skin is our coarse attachments to worldly matters, and the thin skin are our subtle attachments to material matters. And we have to get rid of. Sorry.
Can you repeat?
The thick skin, what is blocking our heart? So remember, there's a arla. So just like by the bris milah, there's the thick skin and the thin skin. So in terms of our attachments to this world, there's the thick skin, and there's the thin skin. There are those attachments we have in this world that are grub. I know that translates in English as coarse, but coarse doesn't really give over the full connotation of what grub is. You know, our desires for the extras in life, for the
Juicy steak.
yeah, for the juicy steak, for what? It's a difference between looking for honor, for example, which is like a grubba, that's the thick skin, and the thin skin is when a mitzvah has to be done, and I want it to be me to do it. The thin selfishness that there is, which is that it's about me. I'm not. You don't look at a person and say, "Wow, look at that person. They're into. They're thinking about." Sometimes you look at a person like, "Ah, wow, this person has no spiritual refinement. Look at what their life is all about: getting another dollar and getting a nicer house and a nicer carpet and all of that's the thick blockages." But then we look at ourselves and we ask ourselves, "Okay, maybe we're not into all those thick blockages, but we have those thin blockages. We're still preoccupied and self-obsessed and attached to worldly matters, but in a more attractive way."
Of course, because it's us.
What? Right. Yes.
How do we know the difference between what we need for survival, such as, I don't know, things that we need to do? Every person has things that they need to do in order to keep them going so that they can do their service, and those refined attachments.
Okay, so I'm sorry to be a little harsh. That's an irrelevant question. I'll explain to you why. The point isn't that we should stay away from everything that we don't need. And this whole distinction is in itself somewhat of a selfish pursuit. The point is that
This whole distinction is what?
do I need it? Do I not need it? The point is to live life where it's not about you. It's not about what you do, it's how you do it and what your mindset is. Is it about me? Am I attached to this, or is it about serving Hashem?
Got it.
And if I'm not attached to it, then there's nothing wrong even with the juicy steak, if it's about Hashem. That's a conversation we've had many times in different contexts. So it's definitely not a derech shvi, if you know what I mean. Like the Rebbe wasn't busy telling us about, bread and water, eat bread and water and sleep on a cot. That wasn't the Rebbe's style at all. It was about changing our focus. That our focus is love of Hashem. Once we have a love for Hashem, and once our life is about our service of Hashem, then all these things fall into place. And then you don't do things that aren't necessary, you do things that are necessary. But necessary doesn't always translate as necessary in order to subsist and live. So necessary can also mean in order for me to have some pleasure and enjoyment, and my life shouldn't be dry. It's a whole different.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, it says, the Alter Rebbe says that the thick skin we could remove. That we can all do. We can all remove that. We can all become more edel. The thin skin, we can't remove ourselves. For that, we need Hashem to remove the thin skin. As the pasuk says, "Umal Hashem alikechas levavcha." But Hashem is the one who removes that thin skin. So ultimately, in order to bring about the geula, we need a little of our work, but we also need Hashem to help us remove that thin skin, so that we can experience geula. Geula is experienced collectively by Klal Yisrael when Mashiach comes, but it's experienced individually. It's supposed to be when we daven. When we daven, we're supposed to be able to get in touch with that inner essential love for Hashem. Not only when we daven are we supposed to be able to think about Hashem's greatness and arrive at some sort of level of superimposed love for Hashem. The true meaning of davening, the true experience of davening, is an experience of geula, which is when we're able to tap into that essential love that we have. But that's a gift from Hashem, because we can't completely remove the blockage. We need Hashem's help in that. Yes?
So that's for like regular people? Like Hashem removes it like for a moment or two?
For all people. Yeah.
Sorry, for all people Hashem does that.
Yeah, I mean, tzaddikim live in a geula state all the time. Remember at last class you were here at the last class? So we said the story about the person who went out the window and he smelled and said Mashiach isn't here, right? So for very, very holy people, that happens all the time. I mean, they live in with that state of reality. But for regular people, we experience it during davening. But what if we don't experience it during davening? How do we get to experience it? It's not. So the Alter Rebbe says here we're going to start inside. We're going to start on page Kuf Vav, which is opposite of page 210. 5 lines from the top. However, muta zeis, it is known, ki sarusa del ela he be sarusa del tata dafka. Every awakening from above comes to an awakening from below. The beginnes ha'alas man, the elevating of female waters. That's Kabbalistic terminology for an awakening from below. Hashem is the male, we are the female, so we elevate Hashem female waters. Therefore, we have to first do our own circumcision. To remove the blockage of the heart, the klipa hagasa v'daka, the thick and the thin covering, hamalbishes umechases, that enclothe and cover up al bechinas nekudas pnimius halev, that cover up the very center, the essence of the heart. Shehi, what's there? What's at the center of our heart? Bechinas avas Hashem, a love for Hashem. Bechinas leman chayecha, loving Hashem with such a deep love, loving Hashem because He is our life. That is the good. That is the most deepest love possible. When we love Hashem because we truly internalize and recognize that He is our life. That's not a logical love. That's a love. The essential love that we have for Hashem is this recognition that Hashem is our life. He is our everything, and therefore we have this incredible love for Him. Shehi begolus. And at the moment, this love that we have is in Galus. The Taivas Elam Haza. Where is it in Galus? It's in Galus, and the Taivas of this world. Shem Gamkin bebechinas Laman Chayecha, which are also our connection to our Taivas, our connection to really matters are so strong. We're connected to Laman Chayecha as if it's our life. Bezelu Mazak Kenal. That's the opposite. Klipa is always the opposite of Kedusha. Instead of connecting to Hashem because we're realizing that Hashem is our life, we look around the world and say all these things that we want and we need, they become our life. So the Alter Rebbe seemingly contradicts himself. The Alter Rebbe just said that the ultimate removal of the blockage is something we can't do. We need Hashem to do. Now it says the Alter Rebbe that, but if we want Hashem to do it, we have to do our work first. And this is a very basic idea in Chassidus, which is even those things that we cannot do on our own and we need Hashem to do for us, we still need to do some sort of work in order to elicit Hashem doing them for us. There are certain things that we can do on our own, or there are certain things that we can. Our avodah is enough to actually elicit something from Hashem, not in a way of a present, but like in a way of cause and effect. There's certain things that are completely beyond us. We can't do them. But even those things, the way Hashem set up the world, nothing is for free. Even those things that we get for a gift, as a gift from Hashem, we also need to do something in order to be able to merit that gift from Hashem. Even though it's not a cause and effect, because that which we're receiving is so much greater than that which we're doing, but we also need to do something. So we want Hashem to remove the blockage of our heart. We need to do something of a similar nature. And what is that? V'hainu al yidei nesinas hatzdaka la Hashem, and that's by giving tzedakah to Hashem b'mamoinei, from our money, shehu chayusay, because money is our life. So, first of all, notice, Alter Rebbe says over here, when you give tzedakah, you're giving tzedakah to Hashem. That's just something important thing to realize. When you go to give you're giving tzedakah to a poor person or to an organization, whatever it is. We're not giving the money to the poor person or the organization. The pasuk says, "Malvel la Hashem choinen dal," that when you're being kind to a poor person, what you're actually doing is you're lending money to Hashem. It's to Hashem, and it's actually only a loan, because we know that Hashem pays it back. But the first thing you have to know is when you're giving tzedakah, you're giving money to Hashem. What is the unique value in giving tzedakah? Is that money has the quality that we put our life into our money. The money that we earn, think about it. What else do we put our life into it? We put our very being into our job, into our career, into the paycheck. So this is the Laman. We're looking to Laman Hayecha. We're looking for where is our greatest attachment to. We want our greatest attachment to be to Hashem, and in order to do that, we have to remove our intense, strong attachment to worldly matters. There's no better way to do that than by giving tzedakah, because every quarter that you're giving to tzedakah, you're not giving a quarter, you're giving a piece of your life. And let's say you happen to have won the lottery, so you didn't really work very hard for this money. It's Hashem for everyone. It's still, at the end of the day, if you wouldn't have given this money to tzedakah, what would you be doing with it? What? You'd be buying your own life with it, right? All those things that you want and that you're attached to. There's nothing more powerful in terms of being able to remove a part of your attachment to this world and giving it to Hashem. There's no other mitzvah that does it like the mitzvah of tzedakah. And then the Alter Rebbe says something very interesting. He says, the less money you have, the more valuable your tzedakah is. Think about that for a second. It makes sense. The less you have, the more your life goes into every dollar that you make. Someone is a millionaire and they give some money to tzedakah, it's extras.
Unless he gives $1 million.
I understand, but even if he gives $1 million and he leaves himself $1 million, when you don't have that much and you're making a little, so you're putting your every single fiber of your being into that, and then that money which you just made, you need that money. You're like ripping off a little piece of your life to give it to tzedakah. Someone who's rich doesn't have that experience to the same extent. Tzedakah works for everyone, but there's a specific advantage in tzedakah to someone who doesn't have that much. And the Alter Rebbe is talking to Chassidim over here who didn't have that much, and he's trying to urge them to give tzedakah. And that's what Alter Rebbe continues. Yeah.
Then why does it say that you shouldn't give more than 30% of your income?
20%.
No, 20% is supposed to, but not
No,
they
10%
pay more than
supposed to.
30. Well, anyway, why is there a cap? If there are some people who are very rich and they don't feel it if they're giving 20%, why is there a cap?
So as we'll learn further on in the Geras HaKodesh, the cap doesn't really apply to too many people. Anyone who ever did an Avera, that cap is,
Oh, okay.
loses that cap.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. The Alter Rebbe explains it in later Simanim. He says, if you're a perfect person, you're a tzaddik, then there's that cap.
Okay.
Why?
Why is there that cap? I don't know. Maybe when we get there, we'll talk about it. Maybe if you're a perfect person, then you know how to spend your money and you're going to do good things with it. I don't know, but that's a good question. But the bottom line, the Alter Rebbe does say is that at the end of the day, your money, are you allowed to spend it on whatever you wish? So what if you want to spend your money on redeeming your soul? As in such a case over here, you want to redeem your ava. So what's stopping you? Your tzedakah over here, it's like you could buy yourself a Mercedes. So you're using your money, and there's no cap on that, right? Halachically, tshuva is connected to tzedakah. So someone who has done averis to the contrary. Tzedakah, the Alter Rebbe says to give more than 20%. But you want to know why does the tzaddik have that cap? It's a good question. Maybe we'll get to it one day when the Alter Rebbe actually addresses this issue of the 20%. But to suffice it to say that's one, halacha. Chassidim were never very mahader in keeping that halacha. It's like, 20%, not allowed to give anymore. Well, it's never something we were very, very careful about. So let's do one side. Ubefrat. Halfway down on top of the page, the first word line is Shehu. Ubefrat nishim ezeinaisav mitzumtzamim. Especially someone whose sustenance, whose food is mitzumtzam. How do you translate? Mitzumtzam means what? Limited. Udechika. And the person is going through a difficult time. The person is being pressed. Udechika leishaita tuva. Sorry, udechika leishaita tuva, and the time right now is very financially very difficult, strapped. Yeah. Shenoisen mechayev mamash. When that person gives money to tzedakah, they're literally giving their life. And if anyone has ever been in that situation, to give tzedakah at that point is literally you're ripping off. It's like ripping off a finger and giving it away. You're giving away part of your life. Ubipratus, and especially in nehnem yigia kapav, especially if the money that you have you worked for. You worked, you labored for it. It's impossible that you didn't. That many times you weren't preoccupied in making that money. Bebechinas nukudas pnimius halev, from the very essence and center of the heart. From the depths of the heart. Kiminago elam baskeim, as is the custom of the world when they work. The masa umatan in commerce, ukai gavna, and in similar types of work. And now, when you take from that which you worked very hard, and you're mefazer, you spread it out, and you give it to Hashem, with simcha and with a glad heart. From this, you are literally redeeming your soul from shachas, from Gehenna. The Hainu, meaning bechinas nekudas pnimis lavavi, the essence of your heart. Which was in galus and in captivity, in klipa, in hagasa idaka, the thick klipa, the thin klipa, the skins, is now being removed. You want to daven, you want to experience redemption, says the Alter Rebbe, first give tzedakah before you daven. There was a wealthy person, his name was Beryl Weiss, who lived in California. And he once asked the Rebbe how much tzedakah he has to give. So maybe it addresses your question. And the Rebbe told him that you have to give until it hurts. That's what the Rebbe said. It's not about a certain amount. As long as you're giving and it's comfortable, and based on what we're saying here, you can understand it very well. The value of tzedakah is that you're giving away your life to Hashem. And then the reward for that is that you get that your ava, the depths of your heart, which was trapped in your chasing olam hazeh, material matters, that part of your heart then becomes released. It becomes let out of captivity, and it's free now to serve Hashem.
In addition, also it's a messiah for different type of people. The people are rich, but I don't want to say the word miser, but it's hard for them. For them, every tzedakah is much more appreciated because it's more of their life.
For sure.
Right.
It's subjective. You know what? It's subjective. At the end of the day, you have one person who's wealthy, and for them, they can give a lot of money and doesn't impact, and you have to give more. And then the other person, it's easy for us to talk, right? And the other person is A little, with a little, it's but yeah, the bottom line is that with the deeper understanding of tzedakah is,
How much we have to invest in it,
yeah. The point, in other words, that if you didn't reach the point where you feel that you gave away your life, you're missing a little this point. The point of tzedakah, v'shaveh b'tzedakah, to experience the redemption, it means my life is caught up in chasing materialism. That's where my life is. I want my life to be in connecting to Hashem. That's a gift. If I want to get that gift, Hashem says, show me how you're detaching. Show me how you're detaching, and you're going to give to Hashem that life of yours, which is invested in materialism. You're going to give it to Hashem, which is in tzedakah. That's when you'll experience the geula, the redemption of during davening. Yeah.
But a married woman, she's allowed to give tzedakah,
Speak to your local Orthodox rabbi.
it's not like that.
Sorry?
It's not like that.
I don't know. I'm not. Maybe it is, but the rabbi will have to tell you that.
I just say hava,
Sure.
is, got to answer once from the Rabbi about spending on something, and the Rabbi said the wife should make sure to give tzedakah from her earnings.
Okay. We know it says that Rabbi Lezer Yoiv Pruta L'Tzedakah. There's a Yibim about this. V'Hadar Maskins. Rabbi Lezer would always give a coin to tzedakah before he davened. As we all know, and many of us experienced, and the Rebbe on the way into davening would always be giving out coins to tzedakah. And the Yibim says that the Rebbe Rashab, he would always give tzedakah before davening, and I don't remember, sometimes or always, he would go find a poor person to give to eat before he davened. I heard recently, I don't know if it's, maybe it's based on that he literally, the Rebbe Rashab would not start davening ever until he found a poor person to give to eat. And sometimes if he couldn't find, the people couldn't find anyone, the Rebbe Rashab himself would wander the streets of Lubavitch to try to find someone to be able to give to eat before he davened. Sorry?
He has a kashya, a big kashya.
Right. But that was about something else. That was about Al Rebbe being revealed to him. That through tzedakah, Al Rebbe was revealed to him. Here we're talking about in terms of davening. So there's a special connection. Now, in terms of tzedakah, there are many different forms of tzedakah. There's spiritual tzedakah also. So Shabbos morning, or I could decide I can't give normal tzedakah. I can sit down with someone and learn a mimer with them. A person that can't learn on their own. That's a spiritual tzedakah. And there are many other forms of kindness that we do that don't involve money. Whether it's Bikr Chaylim, or whether it's Nichom Avelim, Chmas Sarchim. Chmas Sarchim doesn't involve money. And these are all forms of tzedakah. But it would seem, although Al Rebbe doesn't say this specifically over here, but from the context, it would seem that this idea that we're talking about over here, and to try to get this value out of tzedakah, the other non-monetary tzedakah is not going to work. I can't say, well, I want to daven well, so let me go and put on tefillin or something, which is a spiritual tzedakah. What? And it is spiritual tzedakah. Many of the other benefits of tzedakah that you can get will be there. But this specific idea that the Rebbe is discussing over here, what we're trying to accomplish during davening, to experience this level of geula, of redemption during davening, for that, we're talking about literally pulling out the wallet and giving some money. It's not going to work with all the great spiritual tzedakah that we give, and this is not in any way denigrating the importance of spiritual tzedakah, but again, for the purpose that we're talking about over here. Let's go further inside. 6 lines from the bottom of page 12. Moshe as the pasuk says, Shlomo Melech says, "Mikol nishmar nitzoyer libcha." So the simple pshat of this pasuk is, Mikol mishmar, more than anything else that you guard, nitzoyer libecha, safeguard and watch closely your heart. Shlomo Melech is saying, the most important thing to take care of is your heart. You have to watch everything. You have to watch your hands, you have to watch your eyes, and you have to watch your nose, everything. But at the end of the day, where's your heart? You have to make sure your heart is in the right place. But Alter Rebbe has a different understanding, or a deeper understanding. The word mishmar, we find in Torah also many times, can mean a jail. So mikol mishmar netzer libcha means guard your heart from being in jail. Mishmar pirush beis asurim. Mishmar means a jail. V'ata, and now, nifta ma'achitzoynim b'tzedakah azu. When you give tzedakah, you're taking your heart out of jail. You're taking your love for Hashem out of jail and allowing it to express itself. V'zeh gam kei lashon priya, and this is also the word priya. So the word priya, remember there are two parts to bris milah. There's what's called the milah. Milah is when you is removing the thick skin, and the priya is called revealing the thin skin is called priya. The process of removing that. The reason why it's called priya is because the word priya also means to be revealed. So when you remove the thin skin, then you have priya. Then you actually reveal what's underneath. So, but the word priya also has another meaning. Anyone? Paying at that. Very good. What's the connection? Indian priya. What?
She's an Israeli.
I know.
Which word is it from?
I don't know. It's I don't know if it's from anything.
Oh, okay.
To be pireya, it means to pay back. In Pirkei Avos, lihipara min harashoim, for example. Sorry? So, inyan priya chayiv shenes chayiv and eshtabed l'chitzonim. What happens is, when you invest your life into worldly matters, you actually become indebted to the klipa. They own you. They have a right over you. Klipa says that, hey, you can't have a love for Hashem, you can't have this deep love for Hashem, you invested in me, and therefore you owe me. When we give tzedakah, what we're actually doing is we're paying off our debt to klipa and getting it off our back, and allowing then our heart to be redeemed and to be able to have this connection to Hashem. You owe, and you became indebted to the klipa shamash luboy that control you on the kudas primis lavavi, the essence in the center of the heart. And this is what it means. When the pasuk says that through tzedakah we redeem the captives, and what is the captives? We're talking about the captive within. The essence of our soul gets redeemed through giving tzedakah. In the beginning of the Perek, the Alter Rebbe asks, there's a pasuk that says tzedek lefanav yahalech, which literally means righteousness goes before him. So the Alter Rebbe asks, why does it say yahalech? It should say tzedek lefanav yelech, because the word yahalech means to lead. Yelech means to go. So if we're saying righteousness goes before him, it should say tzedek lefanav yelech. But now we're going to understand. Alter Rebbe is going to explain. If you see the words tzedek lefanav yahalech is the second line in the page earlier of the Perek. The word lefanav can also mean your pnimius, your most inner part of you. Tzedek means tzedakah. Tzedek, when you give tzedakah, lefanav yahalech, it leads you to your pnimius. Inside, v'zeu tzedek lefanav yahalech, lefanav hu malashim pnimius. The word lefanav means your pnimius, the most internal part of your neshama. V'yahalech hu malashim heilacha. The word yahalech means to lead. Shemelech is pnimius halev l'Hashem. It leads the pnimius of your heart to Hashem. V'achar yasim ladarach Hashem pe'amav. And then the pasuk continues. The pasuk is a pasuk in Tehillim. It says tzedek lefanav yahalech, which means tzedek, righteousness goes before him. But now we understand it means righteousness leads your pnimius to Hashem, leads your pnimius away from the klipa and to Hashem. And the next words of the pasuk is v'yasem ladarach pe'amav, and then you go on your way. You put your heels on your way, on the path. What does that mean? As the pasuk says, "V'halachta b'drachav," go in Hashem's way. Achrei Hashem alekechem telechu. You should follow your Hashem. B'chol masa mitzvahs, in doing mitzvahs at Talmud Torah kneged kulam. Okay, so we have here the pasuk tzedek lefanav yahalech, which means that when you give tzedakah, then your pnimius is led towards Hashem. Then your essence of who you are becomes connected to Hashem. What is the next thing? Is then you'll go in the path of Hashem, in the way of Hashem. What is the way of Hashem? It's Torah and mitzvahs. We all do Torah and mitzvahs, but Torah and mitzvahs done in a geula state, in a state of redemption, when the essence of your heart is focused on Hashem, is a totally different Torah and mitzvahs, as we all know. I mean, obviously there can be some times that we do mitzvahs and we're doing it by rote. And we're doing it without without the emotional attachment, without the ava and yira, without the love and fear. And that's a sad state. That's we're supposed to have a chayis in doing mitzvahs. There's supposed to be energy there. There's supposed to be the heart is supposed to be in there. But then there are different levels of ava, as we learned in Tanya extensively in the first part of Tanya. There are different levels of avas Hashem and yiras Hashem. There are different levels of emotional attachment. Remember, we spoke about ava v'yira sichlim and ava v'yira tivium. There's intellectual love of emotional attachment, and then there's a natural emotional attachment. And the greater the emotional drive, attachment, when we're doing a mitzvah, the more spiritual our mitzvah becomes, the greater our mitzvah becomes, the more revelation there is in that mitzvah. And the ultimate emotional attachment is the one that we're discussing over here, the one that derives from the essence of the heart. So when we can experience that geula during davening, when we can experience those moments during davening where we have this incredible, intense love for Hashem, which is beyond what our mind is dictating. In other words, we're really tapping into who we are, that impacts all our Torah mitzvahs afterwards. They all become of an entirely different caliber emotionally, and spiritually they become an entirely different level. The Talmud Torah Kneged Kulam, that's all the mitzvahs and the study of Torah, Shekulan Olam Hashem, they all go up to Hashem, Aidi Pnimiyas Alev, when they are done through the emotional attachment, which is from the essence of the heart, B'yeser Seisu Mailo Maila, these mitzvahs go up to Hashem so much stronger and so much higher, Maliyasa La Hashem, than the way mitzvahs are able to go up to Hashem, Aidi Chitzoniyas Alev, through the external parts of the heart, Hanoilad Mahatfuna Vadas Levadan, love which is in the external part of the heart is born from the mind, from a person's contemplation. B'li ha'oras panim l'mayla, without Hashem shining its face from above. Ela b'chinas hester panim, Hashem's face is hidden. In other words, our ability to be able to experience this deep level of love we're talking about is because Hashem is shining His pnimiyus on us, His face. But when Hashem's face is hidden, then we don't experience this deep love, and then we have only an external love. The only way to get Hashem's face to shine to us, which then elicits our face being able, our pnimius being able to shine back at Hashem, is Ella b'Sharusa delatata, is only through our avodah down here, b'Maisa Hatzdaka, through Tzedakah Hanikra Shalom, which is called Shalom. Okay. Yeah.
You seem to take back the idea of Hachmasas Orachim as tzedakah. Did you?
Yeah. Well, Hachmasas Orachim is financial. The point out Rabbi here is that there's something special about money. This is the first time you realize that, something special about money? There's a reason why most people spend their lives chasing money, and as much as people have, they want more, as we all know. And when you're able to take some of that money and give it to Hashem, what you're effectively doing is you're paying off the klippas, and you're showing I'm reclaiming where my life has been and giving it to Hashem, and that allows the essence of your heart to be connected to Hashem.
But Hachmasas Orachim is giving tzedakah?
Well, they're all of them are giving tzedakah, but learning, going and putting on tefillin with someone is also tzedakah. But for the purposes of what we're talking about over here in this chapter, and this specific benefit of tzedakah, for that it has to be money. So Hachmasas Orachim is money. It costs money to have guests. Oh, I guess the different types of Hachmasas Orachim. If you have a bed in your house and someone comes in, that's not that. But I'm talking about inviting someone to your house and giving them a meal. That does take money.
At a certain age, energy is like equivalent to money.
You're right.
But
Not in this parak.
Yeah, but well, changing limits.
That's what he's saying.
Changing limits is also energy.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. When I get there one day, I'll let you know.
It's in the list of the mitzvahs that we have a Keren Kayemet
Tzedakah, yeah.
Kibud Avayim.
Yeah, there are many benefits to many of these mitzvahs, but I'm talking about specifically this idea we're talking about over here.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So this whole thing about feeling Hashem, especially during davening. So how do we know that it's not just based on how we feel that day? Some days we feel more emotional or more open, some days we feel more blah. It's not, is it a revelation or it's just, how I feel that day?
It's a revelation.
nice.
Does it cause you, how do you feel?
Sorry?
Does it affect how you feel?
There's no question, though. Of course, it affects how you feel. That's the whole point over here, is that you're getting to experience this.
It's easy to fool oneself.
Sorry?
It's very easy to fool oneself. That's my question.
I don't know. In other words,
You have to know you're the rabbi. That's over here.
So what did you say?
We'll stick with your first answer.
no, well, you're asking, your question is, no, my first answer I stand by. That I don't know, I wasn't retracting. It's a revelation. Your question was, well, how do you know if you're really experiencing it or you're deluding yourself? That was your second question. Or maybe that was the original question, which I didn't
Maybe we
get.
shouldn't even go there. 'Cause the
And what's
first
the
answer was
difference?
very
No.
nice.
But what's the difference? What if you're deluding yourself? Because shalom is shma.
Right.
Delude yourself enough and then you'll be there.
No.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stories about someone who gave an enormous amount of tzedakah, especially a poor person, and the tremendous reward and spiritual reward that the person got from it. Any familiar with these kind of stories?
Yeah.
I didn't prepare any in advance of these stories. Which story? I know there's one about the Esrog from Gan Eden. I don't remember the details of the story though now.
No, but my husband just told someone who like all kinds of things to his house and ended up eating him out of house and home and everything. He needed to pray and what? No, not that one. Just, he ended up eating my pieces without the daven. I wasn't able to give you things, but because of great tzedakah now that you gave, so then I went to give you the riches that you needed, that were coming to you, that you hadn't asked for. I mean, he gave everything, so he had absolutely nothing left. And
Right.
he just had to daven, and then Hashem just said, okay, now I can give you what's coming to you.
Right. And there are many such stories, similar stories. There's like the story about the Esrog. I don't remember the names of the people.
Right.
Someone who saved up a lot of money to get an Esrog, and on the way to the city to get the Esrog, he met a poor person. He gave him the whole money, bought a very simple Esrog. The Esrog smelled like Gan Eden, and he became a very holy person. In other words, he was rewarded. There are many mitzvahs that you do. There's something specifically about giving tzedakah to the point of, like I said, that it hurts. It's not just that you gave a few extra dollars, but the common denominator in all these stories is that they literally gave their life to Hashem. And the problem, again, Dr. Rabbi is saying over here, the problem is we want to give our lives to Hashem, but our lives are invested elsewhere, and we want to have it both ways, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So our heart is covered up again with this our love because our life is invested elsewhere. There is nothing that's more effective in terms of yanking back and removing and extracting our life from where it is, from the prison, our heart, and saying, no, Hashem, I'm giving it to you, then a mitzvah tzedakah. So first of all, we need to give tzedakah.
In all those stories, it hurt the husband. It didn't hurt the husband, it hurt the wife. She's like, what the heck? They were the one who gave everything away, no problem. The wife was the one who got hurt.
Really?
It's a lot of the stories.
What
Because the friends would give everything away.
do you mean? The guy worked an entire year to make his money, and you don't think it hurt him to give? I mean, I'm going to stand up for my gender over here a little now. You don't think it hurt him to give away the money?
The man, a lot of times, was happy to do it. And the wife said, there's no food.
And the husband doesn't care that there's no food? In my experience, it's the other way around. No, I'm saying my personal experience. As the man,
Depends on
the,
the dynamic.
no, the finances in the house ultimately is my responsibility. If there is no money, I have to do something about it. So when tzedakah is given, the one who feels it the most is actually me, because I still have to make sure that there's something to eat on the table. And I'm going to have to work some more or find some other way or take a loan or something. So it's not my personal experience. Maybe in other cases they are that way. But it's an equal opportunity mitzvah, I think. Yes.
So what if you give so much that now you have to come up?
Sorry?
If you give so much that now you have to come up with that. Like you have to have money for a children's wedding, you have to have money to pay the bills. You have to have, so if you give so much that you don't have that money now, is that smart?
You're asking a lot of questions that are for your local Orthodox rabbi.
No,
This is something which, the moment you start asking these questions, it's almost like you lose the whole idea.
But is it right to cause yourself to need now?
Probably not.
No, of course not. And now I think it's the doctor just like you.
Probably not.
So what point is it that you're hurting, but not causing yourself to need?
Again, the moment you start asking the question and analyzing and saying, what could I give, what can I give, and this I can't give, and this I could, I think you're missing the point. I understand what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring this like into the realm of the practical. But I think that this is something, the moment you bring it too practically, no, it has to be very practically. The money is what it's stuck with. The moment that you start making diagrams and Venn, what do I need, what I don't need, and I think the point is, Dr. Rabbi saying, give more. And will it hurt a little? So yeah, we're not talking about giving everything away. We don't mean that. We don't mean that you should, sell your house and live in poverty, chas v'shalom. But the moment that you're so structured and this is all I need, the rest I can give, you realize then that's exactly missing the point we're trying to talk about over here. Alter Rebbe says he wants you to give a part of your life. Not he wants you. You want the benefit we're talking about, it has to be part of the life. Now where to draw the line exactly? I don't think that someone else can answer that question for you.
But you said about borrowing, you have to borrow in order to give tzedakah. It's not tzedakah. The one who's lending you is giving that tzedakah.
Why? If you pay back the money, then that's tzedakah.
Not what I'm saying.
In fact, Alter Rebbe encouraged Chassidim to borrow money to give to tzedakah. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't pay back, then you didn't give tzedakah and you stole some money. Correct. Yes.
I don't have a problem with the tzedakah. This was something that I felt that they always, trained us to do it. Whether it was give money, you have, you don't have. I mean, in my household, this is the way it was. I find that for me, tzedakah is, davening is much more tzedakah because I take a part of my day to do that. And you know what I hear very often in my house? She's always davening. That's because it takes me a long time. But to take out $100 from my pocket, I don't find that it's the hardest thing. You understand? But taking out 2 hours a day, this is tzedakah. Is it counted as tzedakah?
No, it's hard, but it's not tzedakah.
And I enjoy it, and I feel closer to Hashem, and I feel more
Right.
spiritual and everything.
It's not
But
tzedakah, but it's great.
like it's in my, if I didn't finish, like now, I just finished davening and I was happy. I finished. You understand? That was my tzedakah. Does that make sense? And the way we live, I mean, we eat kosher, we make sure that we eat this hashgacha, everything is around, this is our life.
But it's
So-
not all tzedakah.
Well, when I pay my meat 10 times the price or 3 times the price,
Not tzedakah.
because my husband doesn't like this hechsher, for me it's tzedakah.
That's
No.
not tzedakah.
I see I'm not needed here right now.
It's called being closer to Hashem. It's not tzedakah, okay, you're right.
Without all the things you're saying is correct and everything is amazing. What you said about buying the meat is interesting because you could say over there that there's a certain monetary you're giving away from it. But again, it doesn't take away from Dr. Rebbe what he's saying over here, which is there's something special and unique about money. And as we all know, there's a famous proverb. Adam doyig al ibud damav ve'ene doyig al ibud yamav. A person is worried about losing money and he's not worried about losing his days. In other words, we're worried about wasting money, not about wasting time. Like, okay, it's another day. What happened? What did I do yesterday? Nothing. That's fine. The day was on the drain. Which is stupid. As the proverb continues, the proverb says, Yamav einam chezrim, v'damav einam ezrim. Your days don't come back. In other words, they're irretrievable, and your money doesn't help you then. So you should be valuing time more than money. But that doesn't change the fact that most people value money more than time. So you're saying that in your instance that might be different, but Alter Rebbe is pointing to the basic human nature, that there's so much invested in money. Giving money is something, and Alter Rebbe says any money, anytime you pull out a nickel, a quarter, there's a little of your life. It's like you're ripping off a little of your life and giving it. Alter Rebbe says, especially someone, as the Chikali Shaita, especially someone who's literally giving away some, a deeper slice of themselves because they're in a financially difficult situation, that's especially true. But the Alter Rebbe doesn't say that's the only. To be very clear, every time you give tzedakah, you're accomplishing some of this to a greater degree, and we see the spiritual heights that were.
It's very easy to give it stuff.
Yeah, you're still. At the end of the day,
Give more.
yeah. So you should give more, but the point is, every time you're giving tzedakah, money contains your life in it.
Even if it's nothing, every time you walk by, you put money in the first.
Money contains your life. It's the truth.
Don't worry about it.
Even a cent, if you
It's
go
the
on
truth.
a bus and you're missing 1 cent, you can't go on a bus. So if every coin is your life.
It's not only that, a quarter. So, and how much is 10 quarters and 100 quarters? These are. So you're saying what? $10,000 is part of your life and a quarter is not? If a quarter is nothing, then $10,000 is also nothing. At the end of the day, what? But also, the Alter Rebbe pointed out before, we have to do our job also in removing the thick skin. The problem is that we can't remove the thin skin. For that we need Hashem. So the tzedakah is for that. If we're going to be consciously and overtly, obsessed in thick skin type things, in other words, the grubba pleasures of life, and we didn't even work on ourselves to try to remove our attachments to those things, then it's unreasonable to expect to experience geula while we're davening. We're talking about someone who's doing work on themselves, trying to become more spiritual, more refined. However, there's still always going to be that final hurdle, that thin skin, which we cannot remove alone, which we need Hashem to remove. That's where the tzedakah comes into play. Now, is it possible that sometimes you're going to shock Hashem with such an incredible gift that Hashem is going to say, okay, I'm removing the thick skin and the thin skin? Apparently so. Because that's like these stories illustrate instances we had people who were just, they gave tzedakah once, but it was such an incredible gift, and they gave up so much of their life that they experienced incredible spiritual heights. But as a normal practice, I think what Alter Rebbe is saying over here, and he's talking to this Chassidim, and Chassidim, as you mentioned earlier, he's trying to encourage and urge his Chassidim to give tzedakah. The Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe, he knew Chassidim. To encourage them to give tzedakah, they had to have some sort of spiritual benefit from it. Telling them that they give tzedakah, Hashem's going to reward them, they're going to have a bigger house, wasn't going to talk to them. The Chassidim, they wanted to daven, they wanted to experience geula during davening, and they worked on themselves. And they still, Alter Rebbe is saying, you want to know why it is you're working on yourself and you're still not experiencing davening, the deepest level of love and davening. The answer is because you've removed the thick skin, but the thin skin needs to be removed. The thin skin to remove, that's tzedakah. That's really the essence of what this parak is all about. So, I don't remember what the original question was, but I have a feeling that if you experienced it, you would know that you experienced it. Because I think the delusions that a person can have are more in the area of the external level of love. The internal level of love, which is the essential level of love, is something which when you get in touch with it, so I believe, you would know. Okay. Inside. We're gonna finish off the period. V'zeh shekasuv pada b'shalom nafshi, page 212, around 8 lines from the top. Yeah, 8 lines from the top, or 9. 8. V'zeh shekasuv, this is what the pasuk says, pada b'shalom nafshi, that you have redeemed in peace my soul. What does it mean, you've redeemed my soul? David the Malach should have said, you redeemed me. Nafshi daika, no, my soul. And this is talking about during davening, when Hashem redeems our soul during davening, allowing it to experience geula and it's this attachment with Hashem. This is also the reason Shanikra Tzedakah Shalom. This is why tzedakah is called Shalom, peace. The pasuk refers to tzedakah as peace. Shalom ben Yisrael avim shebeshamayim. Because through tzedakah we make peace between us and Hashem. We redeem our neshama from its prison and allow it to reunite with Hashem. Kemaimer Razal, as the Chazal tell us, that tzedakah makes peace between us and Hashem. The Hainu Ayidei, this is, what does that mean? Ayidei Pidyin Nafshi Sehen. When we redeem our souls, Hemchelak Hashem Mamish, our souls which are part of Hashem literally, Midei Chitzoinim, from the hands, we redeem our soul from the hands of the klipes. Ubefrat says the Alter Rebbe, especially tzidkas Eretz Yisrael. All this is true about all tzedakah, but especially when you're giving tzedakah for Eretz Yisrael, because we know the Alter Rebbe, that's what he was raising money for, was to send money to the Chassidim in Eretz Yisrael. Shehi tzidkas Hashem mamish. If every tzedakah is giving money to Hashem, how much more so when you're giving money for the purposes of Eretz Yisrael? It's mamish, the tzedakah straight for Hashem. Because the pasuk says, "Tamid eini Hashem elekecha ba," that Hashem's eyes are constantly upon the land. And another pasuk says that Hashem says, "V'hoyu einai v'libi sham kol hayamim." Hashem says, "My eyes and my heart are there always." And now the Alter Rebbe is going to turn to contemporary events. This letter was written shortly after one of the times when the Alter Rebbe was released from prison. Alter Rebbe was in prison twice. And Alter Rebbe says, "V'hi," this, the mitzvah of tzedakah. Sha'amdalanu, that's what stood by us, lifteis chayi nafshenu, to redeem our lives, our souls, me'atzas ha'choshvim litcheis pa'amenu, from the council of those who wanted to get rid of us. V'tamid lanu la'ad, the schus of the mitzvah of tzedakah will stand in our good stead forever. Losum nafshenu b'chayim amitim, that we should experience true life. Mechai ha'chayim, true life, which is a gift from the one who gives all life, be able to experience the light of the life of Hashem, which Hashem will illuminate for us forever. Amin ken yehi ratzon. So, this is another letter about tzedakah. So far this is our second letter about tzedakah, and maybe next time we'll recap the two letters and how they differ one from another. I'll see you in 2 weeks. By the way, the next one is a little more difficult and longer, the next letter. We'll meet in 2 weeks. I thought we'll start the next letter. We'll probably do something else. Maybe we'll recap a little. Maybe we'll talk a little about the Shani and Kippur. And then we'll meet again afterwards after Sukkot. Next week is Erev Rosh Hashanah. So there's no class. The week after that, we'll have class. And then there'll be 2 weeks in a row. That'll be Sukkot. Aksivach Simatayva, gut gewünscht Jahr. Brachas and everything.